Welcome to the Marriage Can Win show. We are your relationships experts. I'm Eric, and this is my wife, Dr. Sakeisha Hylick.
Now, here at Marriage Can Win, we educate, empower, and encourage couples to embrace that marriage can win, especially when you focus on three key areas: improving your communication skills, developing sound money management skills, and enhancing your level of intimacy so your marriage can win.
Now, every time we come on, we love to have all of our family and friends to do one thing, and this is to share out our broadcast and also let us know what city and state that you reside. We'd love to see where you are around this nation.
Now, we're excited about this evening. We have a dynamic woman who is going to be joining us, and she is so amazing. We're going to have her come on in a moment and tell you a little bit about herself. We want to make sure that you have your notebook, your pen and paper handy, ready to take plenty of notes. We are super excited to have joining us this evening none other than Dr. Darnise Martin.
Oh, yes, I do.
I'm glad you agree, Eric. So, the full name of the book is 40-something, 10 Radical Lessons for Women on How to Live in Love Without Losing Themselves. Because, I lost my personal identity, and it's work to get it back. And it usually comes with some tears and some hard realizations. But it's worth it. That's a trip you want to take. You don't want to take the trip into resentment and anger and depression. You don't want to take that trip. You do want to take the trip into the kind of self-reflection that's going to lead you back to yourself. And, I always say relationships are spiritual work. So even though it was a relationship that, didn't go well, it did go well for a long time. But when it was clear time to go, it's like that relationship is not about. And that's what I mean by it's spiritual work, because it's like, God is trying to show you something about yourself, a growing edge that you need to know about yourself and that I needed to see. And when we're willing to own it as being true and real, that means we have to make some changes, because we can be in denial. We can just be in denial, right? And people in denial in relationships, they'll just blame the other person. Oh, it's this person. It's this person. It's all. We get in that merry-go-round.
Wow. So I think that's really key. Like you said, it's like about self-reflection and just owning up to it. And I think that's really, really important, because we tend to, I'm trying to think of a way to explain it. We find ourselves in a posture where, it's very easy. I like this analogy that I'm trying to remember who actually shared it. And they were saying every time you point one finger at someone else, right, there are three pink fingers pointing back at you. Actually, four. But but we have to learn to accept responsibility. And I don't want to say it's the society, but it's just so much easier to just place blame on someone else rather than owning up to it. Because when you have that mirror up to your face and you have to look at yourself, sometimes what you see is not something you want to see. You start seeing the areas of imperfection that you have, the areas that you need to work on and that you need to change. And that can be a challenging thing many times, because it's like, oh, I didn't realize I was doing that and saying that. Right. So what's your piece of advice for women that are walking through that process and just learning to own it? As you said, that they're trying to get to that point where they're trying to own their mistakes and learn that, okay, it's time to pivot. Some of these things it's not always someone else, but I'm a part of that process. Right.
It's easy to see everybody else's.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, there's really 3 points. And it's, I can say it as if it's easy to do, but it's not. It's a process. Clarity, confidence, and courage. And so clarity means you have to be willing to get clear on who you are, as well as your environment, the environment that you've constructed, the environment in which you've been performing. And it's not easy, because as we've just been discussing, it's easier to blame other people. It's easier to avoid and deny. I was going to say unfortunately, but actually fortunately, in working with clients, I know I have to get to the tears. because if I don't get to the tears, I know she's still performing. Now she's performing for me as her coach. And it's like, no, we got to go beneath that until the tears flow, because when you get to that point of clarity, you'll see, oh, wow. And sometimes the relationship is work. It's a work relationship. And you have to get to clarity around why I'm in this type of job. Why do I always have these kind of relationships with people on my job or my boss? Even when I've been in different companies, these are still the kind of relationships that pop up. And so when you have to get clear and say, well, this is the role I normally play, and this is how other people respond, that, self-reflection, that owning, the clarity. And then once you can really own that, which can take some time, it could take months, it could take longer. It just depends on how much, how willing you are, how willing a person is. And so once they get even a bit of clarity around that, and they're willing to do more work, now comes the confidence part, because once you see, you're like, oh, well, then I can be more confident about who I really am and more confident about where I really want to go, aside from the role I've been performing or the expectations of other people. Now I can really be confident about what I'm saying, confident about how I'm showing up, less insecure, less, trying to see what everybody else is doing. And then courage, because how are you going to walk in this when other people are used to you being who you were? And especially when it's, your relationship with your family members, or your significant other, they're used to you being a certain kind of a way. And now here you come brand new, right? And they're like, who, what, this isn't going to fly the way it used to anymore. No. So that takes courage to be able to do that. And then, so, sometimes, I work a lot with women who are really dynamic women. And so they figure out, well, I need to do this. I might need to quit my job. I might need to, this is the time I'm going to start my own business. This is the time I'm going to do this or that. They have children who are older and, adult or at college, and they're ready to do something brand new. But other people haven't caught the new vision. Spouse hasn't caught the new vision. Mama hasn't caught the new vision. So sister hasn't, best friend hasn't. And so they're looking at you like, what are you about to do? You about to change up your whole life? And you're like, you know what? Because I'm, it could be 49 and a half or 55 and a half. And it's like, well, if not now, when? Yes, that's what I'm getting ready to do. But we lean on, other people's acceptance, but see, it wasn't their vision. So it takes a lot of confidence and courage to say, I'm going to do this new thing.
Now, so how important, when I'm thinking about what you're saying, how important is it for a woman that's going through this process to start to establish certain boundaries? Because like you said, not everybody's going to realize the pathway that's in front of you, the pathway that you're following. And they're so accustomed to the old you, they haven't been able to really conceptualize or accept the new you, the transformed you. So how important is it to establish boundaries so you don't allow their negative feedback or their unwillingness to recognize or accept these decisions you've made and prevent it from pulling you backwards?
Thank you for asking that, because that's the main thing is, okay, I have this new idea. I set out this new business plan, whatever it is in their mind, right? And then because people are not used to your new program, somebody's calling you. Can you tell me this? Can we do this? Can you loan me $100? Can you do? And so what I've been saying is make a schedule and plan for the things that you need to do for other people, that you need to do it. You need to run and see about, if it's grandma, auntie, so-and-so, if it's your mother, because at this age, some of my friends and clients are experiencing where they need to take care of a parent now. Parents are getting older, and so they need more attention. If it's people dealing with Alzheimer's or some kind, they just can't move around as much as they used to, and they need their now adult kids or middle-aged kids to step up. And so I say, make a schedule and allot time for when you can run those errands or whatever you need to do. You might even want to allot a certain amount of money that you are willing to loan family members or whomever. It might be zero, depending. But if it is that cousin Ray really, really, really be needing stuff, then you might plan on, okay, I got $100 for cousin Ray for the month, right? And you let him know, look, this is what I have for you. Or you let your family know, listen, I run errands on Thursdays and Saturdays. That's it. If you call me and it's not an emergency, then we can wait until Thursday or Saturday. And of course, they'll be like, why we got to do it like that? Or why we got, because you might remember that I said, I'm doing this now and it takes more of my time, especially if you're already working full time somewhere else, right? Or I told you that, you know, hubby and I, or whoever, we're doing so-and-so. And that means I had to restructure my time. And I'm hoping you understand. So that kind of language, you know, lets people know, hey, I'm not cutting you out of my life. I'm just asking you to respect that I have something going on now that means I have to really be mindful of my boundaries. I only have so much time. Therefore, and I know mama need to go to her dialysis or whatever. And so we do that on Saturdays. After that, have to take her home, have to do this, and this. But I know by Saturday evening, I'm back home. So I can have, and this is my thing that I have to learn, my own time where nothing is planned. So if I want to sit here and watch YouTube, watch Netflix, return calls, y'all, my phone right now, it's like, who keeps texting me right now? Why are people texting me right now? Right? You know, like whatever it is I want to do, take a nap, then I have scheduled it. Because what happens for me personally is I'll feel like, oh, if I'm not doing anything, I'm wasting time, right? But if I've built it in, then I'm like, oh no, this is my time. And, you know, since we all in the house now, I'm not going nowhere on Saturday night usually these days. So it's like, so Saturday evening from maybe, you know, 6 o'clock on is mine.
Okay. Wow. Now you said something really key, and I love that. I'm going to be mindful of it. You said I'm restructuring my time, because you're being upfront with them as far as this is a boundary, because I've noticed even for myself, you want to tell people no, but you're so concerned about offending them or appearing standoffish, or all of a sudden you're this brand new person that you don't have time for them. When you're actually recognizing you're making yourself a priority and learning to be okay with that. But that restructuring your time, that hit home. Okay, I'm making a note. I'm restructuring my time.
Yes. And you know, usually that people get that you're giving them time. Right? Like, so it's not like every time they call is no. Oh, you don't never have time for me no more. Well, you know, remember I said I can do this on a Thursday or a Saturday. And that's the time I have, unless it's an emergency, obviously. But just for the normal day to day, you need to go to CVS. And so people get to know that as the new normal. And yes, they might be a little, you know, edgy and prickly about it initially. And see, we have to get past that. But with our newfound confidence and courage, we just have to get past that ourselves. When somebody's like, oh, come on, I know it's Wednesday, but come on, I need the, you know what? I'm in the middle of something and I can't pull away right now. Even if it's, look, I'll call Uber for you, but don't make this a habit, because no.
That's true. That's the thing that when it comes to marriages and relationship, you have to really balance family and your spouse, because if you don't, it could, you know, your family will really take control and leave your spouse hanging out in the wind.
Yeah. So what would you say is one of the greatest challenges that you've had to overcome in order to transition over into helping everyone find their clarity and their confidence and their courage? What was your greatest obstacle that you've had to overcome in order to accomplish this goal?
For myself? I'm sorry. What are you asking me?
For either for yourself or some of your clients. Just when you're trying to accomplish a goal and you're thinking in terms of obstacles that you may have to overcome in order to get there. If you know, okay, I'm approaching my 40s. This is a job that served me well, but I feel that pull. I feel that tug that like, I can't stay in this position any longer. There's something greater for me.
Oh my gosh. Do I have to share it on here?
Well, if you'd like to talk about for clients, you're more than
No, I will, because I wrote about it in the book. It was a relationship with a prominent person here, a film director, who's well known. And I had to leave that relationship as much as it was all Hollywood. And I used to use the hashtag, I guess I still do sometimes, the hashtag on social media, that Hollywood life, because I was leading a Hollywood life. I was in the spaces with really all of Black Hollywood, right? All the social spaces, award shows, all that, going to people's houses who, I just saw you on television the other night, having a conversation with Don Cheadle. Remember when, it was before his movie about Miles Davis came out, and I guess it had been postponed, and so I was at some event and he was there, so I just walked over to him and I was like, when is that movie coming out? But anyway, like, he has to answer to me. But anyway, that was my life. But when people have a really big life as a celebrity or just prominent in their field, their life takes over. And so here I am, a writer, a coach, and I'm trying to, manage my own schedule. And I wasn't good at that point at blocking out my time. So his life took over. And his life even is not that predictable, because he might have to run and when we could travel and move about more freely, right? So he might have had to do this and that and in a hurry, and it's got to be tomorrow, it's got to be by the weekend or whatever. But it was fun, and it's kind of exciting, and we got to do this and that. But in the back of my mind, it was like, you got to go, because you can't schedule this. You can't. Either you're going to be with this person and be this, his missus, or his, everybody assumed we were married and all that. You're going to be that, and that's it. And I knew I'd come to know several Hollywood wives and or significant others, and their lives had become his life. So, and I had somebody even tell me, a couple of women tell me, prominent women, you're doing wife work, you better marry him or get out, because this is work and it'll suck you dry and you won't have anything to show for it. So I took that counsel, right? And I thought about it, I think about it for a while. And then one day it was clear as day. You have to walk away. Not because he was a terrible person, but because it was a lifestyle that was not going to allow me to grow into the next stage of my evolution. There's just no room. And he didn't quite understand, because again, it's not his vision. And of course he seemed, he wasn't like trying to control me, but he didn't understand the dynamism of his life and how there was no room for me to do the things that I needed to do. So I had to honor that in myself and make that decision. And so one day I just had to say, I gotta go. And, he said, you're not coming back? I said, no. And it was extraordinarily difficult. So, but I did it. And I said, well, we're going to salvage a friendship out of this deal. But it took us probably a year and a half to even get back to where we could be friends. And we are again. But it took some time. And he said, I really realized, now I see, right? Because he's seen me grow and my business grow. And he's like, I see. And, so that was huge, but I had to do it. And so, when I work with women, I let them know, hey, I know these changes are not easy. And I know it may feel like, you know, you don't know what's going to come next. And are you doing the right thing? And like you have a, you know, a stone in your throat or something in the pit of your stomach where you feel like, I can't do that. Like, you know, I can't turn my whole life upside down. But, you know, when I thought about those women who are, you know, women with a lot of money, women with beautiful homes all over LA, but they were, by 11 a.m., they were already drinking wine and taking pills, you know, prescription pills, because they were trying to dull that pain, which was sacrificing their own dreams. And I thought, oh, I can't be that person. I can't be that person. So I gotta go.
Wow. Now, while we are flowing in this vein, can you just take a moment and speak to that woman that's in that posture, that's like, look, I'm in this relationship and I feel like that tug is there, that I need to step outside of my comfort zone. I need to do something different, but she's struggling with her current situation. Maybe it may be not wanting to step away from the financial aspect. Maybe it's because of the person. Maybe it's because she fears being alone. But could you just take a moment and just speak to that woman that's listening to this broadcast, that's in that posture, that could be struggling with that, and just give her a word of encouragement to let her know that, you know, she can do it?
I would say, sis, figure out what are the small steps you can take. First of all, there's a phrase, it's not mine, but it's common enough. Pain pushes until the vision pulls. Pain pushes until the vision pulls. And so you're in pain right now because you're feeling the disorientation of knowing that you need to move, but you're afraid of it. And so, but you have a vision. Allow the vision to pull. Keep thinking about what your vision is, and how you're going to feel as you achieve that. Let that pull you, as opposed to the pain pushing you, the pain of the feeling of everything that you think you're going to lose. It's a shift in focus away from everything you think you're going to lose towards the thing that you know you want. And then ask yourself, in this same situation, you know, don't get up the next day and just trash the whole thing. But the next day, what you can do is say, if that's my long-term goal, what can I do? What can I start putting in place now? What steps can I take now? What if I just share my dream out loud and start talking about it? Because, you know, we put things in motion when we put our focus on it, right? The universe takes it and starts moving it for us. Allow the momentum to build, and that will pull you so that you can focus on not what you're afraid of, but where you want to go. So start talking about it. Start talking about it as if, yep, this is what I'm getting ready to do. And people will ask you, how are you going to do that? When are you going to do that? And you just tell them, I'm working on it, because you are. You're working on it. And so you identify some small things that you can do. Maybe you need to open a new bank account. It could be just something simple like, let me do some internet research and see what it's like what do I need to start my own business? What does that look like? What are the tax ramifications? What does it mean to incorporate? How do I set up a bank account for my business? Just start where you are with basic questions that you actually have. You know, who are the people who you need to follow on social media? Do you need a coach? I always feel like everybody needs a coach or a mentor of some kind. It doesn't matter what level you are, you know, doctor this or doctor that. We all need to have a coach or a mentor, because somebody has to pull us. Somebody has to push us. Somebody has to tell us when we're procrastinating, when we're spinning. Right? I can get so busy that I'm not making progress, but I'm spinning. And so we need somebody who we trust as a mentor to say, you know, you're about to spin, you just on a wheel, what you doing? So do you need a coach? Do you need a therapist? Because there's a difference between a coach and a therapist. And sometimes you need to start with a therapist. And when people come to me and it sounds to me like they need a therapist, I'll tell them, you know what, this isn't the work for you right now. Because they may come from a situation of abuse or something that I am not, the person to deal with that. So get the therapist, go through therapy. Maybe we can do it together, but figure out, okay, I'm at ground zero. How do I get to step one? And you can do that because it's your dream, it's your vision. So it's already pulling you. Don't be afraid of it. There's other people who've done it before. Start following them. What does it look like? Don't compare yourself to Oprah or Michelle Obama, right? Like, oh, I'm never going to do that, right? Find somebody maybe in your neighborhood, or find somebody online who is, you're following on Instagram and they seem to be a regular person, but they're doing the thing. Just a little step, the little step, the little step, and those will lead you. Trust that that vision would not have been given to you unless you could actually move towards it and do it.
Now, that's something that you said that was so key. Just, you've got to trust the vision, and you've got to start small, do something. You might remember Rome wasn't built in a day. Or how do they say, how do you chew an elephant? One bite at a time. Start small and do little bit by little bit. And before you know it, you're like, you won't realize how far you've gone and how much you've accomplished, but you've got to start somewhere. But I've read that you've authored so many books. I really want to talk about this one that's right behind you. Can you share a little bit more with our listeners about the book?
Sure. 40 something. Again, I wrote it in the decade of the 40s because so many things were shifting for my life and coming to crossroads where new decisions have to be made. But it's 10 radical lessons. So I take readers through 10 experiences or 10 lessons, 10 wisdom nuggets. And I mean, if you want, I could just, Lord, okay. Share just as a, the contents, 10 radical lessons. Be open to growth, heal your childhood wounds, face your fears, identify your values and priorities, be authentic in all aspects of your life, rely on your faith, learn from the patterns in your life. Oh my gosh, that is the main. Tell yourself the truth, learn from the patterns in your life, because most of us are unconscious to a lot of our own patterns. So we don't see how we're repeating ourselves over and over. You're having repeat performances. It's just a different person, you keep meeting and dating over and over. I just changed jobs. It's the same deal. Why? Because you haven't made significant changes. So, that's when we get into the blame game or shame, because people can't own it. And so they're just caught. So once you can see your patterns, or you have your friends or somebody else say to you, really, here we go again. This is what you said last year. This is what you've been saying as long as I've known you, or, I've known you since high school. You've always been saying this. And then to hear that, because of course that can be painful to hear, because then we're hearing that, I played a role in this myself. But yeah, can you look at your relationship pattern? Who are the kind of people you've been dating? What have you been accepting? And then when you see the pattern, you're like, oh, okay, I can't do no more repeat performances. No, I cannot do that. So that's what it is. And again, when I started writing, talk about little steps, I wasn't thinking book. I was thinking, I'm going to just write my experiences. And I'm going to, I just kept going with it. And then it took shape as a book. And then I said, well, how can I shape these chapters so that they're helpful to other people too? What's the real takeaway I got from it? Oh, okay. So then I went back and I was able to, shape the chapters in such a way that it's helpful. It's not just you reading my story, because I'm not Oprah. Who cares about my story per se? But, I wanted to make it useful to other people and give women a sense of sisterhood, meaning there's not judgment. It's okay. Well, whatever it's been, just make a new choice. Just keep going. Just make you still alive. Come on, we can do it. And as Black women in particular, we do a lot. We do a lot of carrying the community on our back, being expected to with this, strong Black woman archetype that we all have to carry. We all want to put our feet up and not be superwoman sometimes. But anyway, just letting women know, you know, you're up to it. You do everything for everybody else. You're up to it to do it for yourself too.
All right. So where can our listeners, because I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need a notebook to be taking a bunch of notes. Where can our listeners get a copy of this book? Because I'm sitting here, I'm excited by just thinking about all the topics that you've talked about thus far.
Well, you can get it from Amazon. If you're just ready to make the purchase, go to Amazon.com. I am offering a free excerpt, which is a chapter.
Okay.
So that's 40somethingthemovement.com/book. So again, 40somethingthemovement.com/book. And you can get a free chapter. And then go on over to Amazon and purchase it.
Oh, all right. Are you guys listening? She's giving you an excerpt of the book, but I always suggest I'm sure once you start reading it, you're not going to want to put it down. So make sure you go ahead over to Amazon and grab a copy of the book this evening, because I know as soon as we finish, I'm going to order my copy, because it's going to be dynamic, because I'm in that 40-something phase. So I understand.
You know, it's like I had little postcards made too. And when I see women, I just want to pass it. The coffee shop that I go to here in LA, I just pass it to the baristas, because a couple of them are 40-something women, and they see me come and they start making my drink. I get the same thing all the time, which is a mocha. I don't even like coffee, y'all. I only want to put some chocolate in it, right? And so I just say, here, or I'll say for the young woman, give this to your mother.
I like that.
Because the themes are so, and I've even had a couple men read it, and they're like, I can see this, right? Because, you know, for men, we call it a midlife crisis, and men don't necessarily have communities where they feel comfortable talking to other men about the emotional stuff they might be going through. They just start acting it out, right? Like in the old days, they'd go and get a sports car or some toy, right? Or that's when men start cheating or whatever, because they're looking for something, an outlet for this transition time. They're losing who they were. They were like the young, strapping, good looking, or, you know, whatever it was, right? The role they've been playing. And they're transitioning into something else. They don't quite know, am I losing it? Am I losing my edge? Am I losing it? And, you know, they go through their own transition too. So I've had a couple men say, you know what, I enjoyed it too, but then I gave it to my sister, or then I gave it to my wife, or, you know. So it's been great talking to you about the book, and I've been happy to be on here talking with you.
Wow. So I know that our listeners are like, okay, well, we still want to be able to get in contact with Dr. Darnise. So how can they stay in contact with you after this broadcast?
Well, I would suggest please join me on Instagram at Dr. Darnise. You can also email me directly. I'll go ahead and put my email in here. I didn't think to do that earlier. But it's Dr. Darnise at drdarnisemartin.com. You can email me directly. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter, but hardly ever. So Instagram or Facebook, probably the best places other than a direct email. I'm working on, my website is drdarnise.com. I'm upgrading the website. So making some significant changes, but you can still find me at drdarnise.com. That's how people find me for coaching services. But I'm changing it up a bit, because I want to talk directly to the spiritual lives of Black women. And so it's not a complete changeover. I'm still going to be coaching women, but particularly I want to talk to Black women, the spiritual lives of Black women. I want to talk to us about thriving, about joy, about luxury, because it's been hard this year, right? On top of everything else. And we have to get to a place as Black women where we expect to have joy and love and luxury, right? Like, why don't we ever think about luxury? or peace of mind where we can just, you know what I've been doing? I've been running away to hotels. Sometimes I had a birthday at the end of September. So I said, I'm going to go to a hotel, one of these with a pool and beautiful cabanas. That's what I'm doing for my birthday. So you got to treat yourself, right? So anyway, I'm reshaping my website so it will be about caring for us on multiple levels.
Wow.
Yeah, we kind of had a staycation ourselves just recently because we were just like, we need a break.
But,
right?
Much going on.
But happy belated birthday.
Yes.
Happy belated birthday. But also I was going to ask you what is next for Dr. Darnise, but I am excited about your sharing with us and sharing with the listeners the transitions that are going to be coming up, and for them to make sure they stay tuned to look at the website, to follow you on Instagram, to go to Amazon and order a copy of your book. But I do not want to sidestep. You're the author of multiple books. Do you want to give them the names of the other books that you've written? So while they're looking for this one.
Well, you can go to Amazon and put in my name, and then you find. But you know, I'm an academic also. I'm a college professor, and so those books are more academic. One of them is called Beyond Christianity: African Americans in a New Thought Church. And then I have contributed to several other books. And so I won't name them all here. It gets a bit tedious. You can just go to Amazon and just type in my name. But, you know, again, I'm a religion and history scholar. And so if people are interested in that type of thing, then, you know, you'll definitely find them. One is called Women and New and Africana Religions. One is about esoteric metaphysic religions. I mean, there's just been a lot going on in my career over these years. And so I've been fortunate. I've had some hard knocks too. You know, hard knocks come with anybody's life, with anybody's vocation. Yeah. But at this point, I like to feel like I'm in that stage of being a lot more just confident and clear. Therefore, it makes being courageous a little bit easier, because I'm not as distracted by other things. I'm not as distracted by the roles that other people once had for me, or at least I imagine they had for me. And now I'm just like, no, I'm not doing those things. I'm doing this thing.
We want to thank you for joining us today on our broadcast.
Let's keep the conversation going. You can connect with us via Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or subscribe to our YouTube channel under Marriage Can Win.
Also, you can join us 24/7 on our Marriage Can Win podcast at www.themarriagecanwinshow.com, and also connect to us at marriagescanwin.com.
Remember, you can be the change you want to see in your relationship.